Hi everyone, my name's Daniel, and if you're interested in 360 cameras, then I'm the guy to talk to. So today I'm going to be talking about a camera that's been released for quite a while, the Xiaomi Mijia Mi Sphere. So the Xiaomi Mijia Mi Sphere is probably one of the most popular 360 cameras ever. It's been released now for the best part of a year, and when it was released, a lot of people reviewed it. It became a very popular camera because it shoots very good photos, decent video, and it's very cheap. So yeah, it became one of the most popular 360 cameras, even though it was made by a company that no one really heard of. The reason I want to review it now is because it's received a lot of very big updates to its software, which has basically changed the functionality of this camera a lot, added so many new features, changed the quality of the video, even upgraded the video. So I want to talk about it now in 2018 and try and work out if it's still the best value 360 camera, because it certainly was last year. And with all these new updates, is it still retaining that title? Is it still worth buying the Xiaomi Mijia Mi Sphere in 2018. So let's get started. First, I'm going to talk about the specs of the camera, and I'm going to tell you what's changed and what's new compared to, say, 9 months ago when this first came out. So here are the specs of the Mi Sphere. And the headline features is that it can shoot 23 megapixel photos, it can shoot 4K video, it's water resistant up to 1 meter, it's got 6-axis stabilization, it's only around about $200 to $230 depending on where you buy it, and it can shoot in a RAW file format. A quick word about the design of the camera. It's probably one of the better design cameras. It's very slim, as you can see here. That means the lenses are very close together, which means the stitching is tends to be more accurate compared to other cameras. Like this one, which you see the lenses are much further apart, which makes it more difficult for the software to stitch the two images coming out of each lens accurately. So the closer the lenses are together, usually the better stitching. So this is very good at stitching photos and videos accurately, probably because of the design. There's hardly any manual controls. There's basically just a on button, a record button, and a button to turn on the Wi-Fi. So that's the only manual controls you have. You mostly control the camera through the app wirelessly, so you connect to this via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and you have a lot of options there to record and preview the images before you shoot. Right, so let's move on to the more important stuff. I'm going to start talking about 360 video. How good is a Mi Sphere at shooting 360 video? When the Mi Sphere was first released, it could shoot a 360 video at 3.5K resolution, which it looked good, and the quality of the images was very good, but 3.5K in resolution terms wasn't particularly ideal. Usually 4K is considered the minimum for decent quality 360 video. Now, Xiaomi released a few months ago a upgrade to this camera via software, and it bumped it up the resolution to 4K. Now, I was kind of skeptical about this, not able to change the hardware, so they're using software to bump up the resolution, which often doesn't really make much of a difference. It doesn't really work that well. But actually, having shot with it now with this new upgrade, the video is looking better. It looks a lot better. They've also changed a lot of things to do with dynamic range and light and how it deals with light and color. So overall, the video from this camera is actually one of the better 4K cameras now, especially compared to other cheap cameras in the same price range. The Mi Sphere is way, way better than any of those. Compared to, say, the Samsung Gear 360, which is another very cheap 360 camera, the Mi Sphere is a lot better at shooting 360 video. They both shoot at the same resolution now. So let's take a look at some more videos. So here is some more video that I shot in 4K with the Mi Sphere. And yeah, I very, very much like how the Mi Sphere deals with color and light. The dark areas are very dark and the bright areas are quite bright. So, you know, it makes it look very, like I say, dynamic. It makes it look very attractive. It's not too saturated. The stitching is very accurate. Unless you get very, very close to the camera, you'll tend to not have any stitching line. Very, very happy with the video. Now that it's been upgraded, I would probably use this camera a lot more for video than I would have before. There's also a slow motion function. While that's kind of interesting to have, the resolution is very limited. I think 2048 by 512, and you need to be in a very light environment, and to be honest, it's just not worth it. The quality is very, very low. In 360, slow motion will require a very high resolution, which is very difficult to achieve. So while the slow motion function is there and you can try it out if you want, it's not really a serious thing, and I have barely used it. I just tried it and it didn't really work that well. So like I say, compared to what was released last year, the Mi Sphere has been improved significantly in the video department. The Mi Sphere is definitely still a very big contender. It's better than a lot of other 360 cameras that are out now, and yeah, it's definitely worth still buying in 2018 if you want to shoot some 360 video that's looks good. So onto photos, which is one of this camera's strengths. It has been from the beginning. It can shoot 23.8 megapixel photos, which is very, very large. And when it comes to 360 photos, the more megapixels, the better, just because you need to stretch all that image all around in a sphere, so you need more pixels to make it look sharp. So not only does the Mi Sphere shoot very large photos, they're just very good quality, even compared to other cameras that can shoot similar resolution. The camera can now shoot raw 360 photos, and what that allows you to do is to edit your photos and retain as much detail as possible, and the end result, if you know how to deal with raw files, is that the photos look amazing, like almost on the level of like a DSLR rig. This camera can almost, not quite, but almost shoot as good as 360 photos as that kind of setup, if you know how to deal with the raw photos and know how to get the best quality out of those files. Now that is quite amazing, and I know people for a fact have used this camera to create professional 360 tours that people pay for. Even if you don't want to shoot in RAW, you just want to shoot and have the file straight out of the camera ready to go. Even those files, just the JPEG files, even those photos look amazing and better than any other 360 camera that I've owned. So even if you just want to not deal with the RAW aspect, you just want normal 360 photos ready to go, then this is still the best camera by far for that. Another feature added to this camera is automatic bracketing, and basically what that means is that the camera will automatically shoot 3 photos at different levels of exposure, and then what you can do is take those files, put it into an editing program and create a HDR image. So this is only one of a few 360 cameras that can do that. You do have to take those 3 photos out manually and combine them manually. Whereas, for example, the Ricoh Theta V can create HDR photos automatically. It brackets the photos and combines them together in the software in just under 30 seconds. So both photo and video capabilities of this camera have improved massively since last year. It definitely makes it still one of the better 360 cameras available now, and for the price, which like I say is just over $200, it's still the best value camera. Even if you just take into the consideration photos and videos, it's probably still the best value 360 camera out right now. So the third thing that is also very important is stabilization. I tend to consider photo quality, video quality, and stabilization to be the 3 main aspects of what I judge a camera on, because these are the 3 things that basically you use the most. So when this camera was first released, it didn't even have any kind of stabilization feature. It was very difficult to move around with it. The horizon wasn't level, and it made it very difficult to watch moving video shot with this camera. It wasn't long till they added stabilization and horizon correction. So here is what it looks like. Here is how it looks like to move with the camera, and as you can see, it works pretty well. So you can move with this camera and you can go vlogging and you can run around with it and walk with it, and it won't ruin the videos. So yeah, so those are the 3 things that have improved massively since 9 months ago when this first was released. And these 3 things are the most important aspects, I think, of any 360 camera. But I'm going to talk now about one thing that really still needs some work and isn't my favorite aspect of this camera, and that is the software. Now, the software is primarily the app. That's what you use to control the camera. That's what you use to, shoot video, watch it back, change settings, etc., etc., etc. Now, the software isn't awful. I've certainly used worse software, but the Mi Sphere app is just a bit too slow, a bit too clunky, and it can often freeze. I've been out shooting sometimes and it's just taken me too long to connect to the camera, and you really do need to, because this has barely any manual control, so you can't change anything. So the user experience isn't that smooth, and it's something you will need to get over, and it's something you'll need to be used to if you want to shoot with this camera. If Xiaomi were going to make any more updates to this camera, I would really, really want it to be the app that they just made smoother. They just ironed out the bugs and made it a much more user-friendly experience, because that's really the only thing that gets me down about this camera, is just using the app. But apart from that, I don't really have that many complaints. So to summarize this camera, it is still the best value 360 camera of 2018. I basically am super confident of that. The video looks great. The photos are amazing, better than any other 360 camera out right now. And for what you get, for the amount of features you get, and for the fact that it's just over $200, and sometimes even cheaper than $200 if there's a sale on, yeah, this is definitely the best value 360 camera you can get right now. There are better cameras out there. This isn't the best camera. The GoPro Fusion, the Rilo, the Yi 360 VR, some of them shoot much better video, some of them have better stabilization, some of them have this overcapture feature, which, you know, is really awesome to create flat video, but they are all much more expensive, like twice, 3 times the price of this camera. So the best place to buy this camera is gearbest.com, and for some reason they sell it much cheaper than anywhere else. That's where I got this camera from, so yeah, they are definitely the cheapest place to buy it. It's also available on Amazon, but for some reason Amazon sell it much more expensive. I'm not sure why. I also have a written review of this camera if you want more information, so check my website 360cameras.com and you'll see a written review of the Mi Sphere there. If you're interested in 360 cameras and 360 video in general, then remember to subscribe because I have a lot of useful information about all types of cameras and how to shoot with them and how to create decent 360 content. So I'm sure it'll be helpful to you if you subscribe. So that's it. Mi Sphere, good camera, love it. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.